Welcome to Resident Assistant Training on Roommate Conflict. Before starting this video, you should have completed video 2.9 and all its prerequisites. Also look over the roommate agreement linked above this video on the Moodle unit. In this video, we'll identify group development traits and describe steps to effectively address roommate conflict. An important foundation for mediating roommate conflicts will be Tuckman's group development model. Here we'll give you some background. It was proposed in 1965 by Bruce Tuckman, and it identified distinct group development phases. He developed a four-stage process and said that all four stages are needed before maximum effectiveness of groups can be achieved. Later in 1977, with the help of Mary Jensen, the model was revised to include a fifth step. We will use this to talk about the groups that form within apartments and residence hall rooms. In other words, roommate relationships. So we'll look at each of these 5 stages in Tuckman's group development model. The first is forming. It's talking about trying to find your place within the community, and this is referring to the residents, not necessarily you as a resident assistant. To go into it more, it represents initial reactions to one another. So there's a lot of important things that you have to do to facilitate good initial reactions between residents. The first is to be patient and help your residents to be patient. Help everyone understand that everyone comes from different places and you may need to learn about each other before you form your initial opinions. The next step is to be prepared. You need to be prepared for the fact that you're going to have very different students from very different life experiences, and you need to find ways to meet common ground with all of them. You should be knowledgeable about the places that everyone is coming from. Understand a little bit about the diversity that you're going to see on your floor, and really respond to the training we'll give you on diversity once you arrive on campus. You'll need to be a counselor in some ways, in that you're going to need to work with people to mediate initial reactions to some of those differences. And this is also that you can work towards a group identity. What does it mean to live on your floor? What does it mean to be in room 501? Those sorts of things are important because if they develop a sense of team, they're less likely to fall apart as individuals. Lastly, Tuckman says that you have to develop a common vision and mission. Now, I'm not sure that a room or a floor needs a mission statement or anything that detailed, but it is important for communities to agree on something. A room may agree when everyone's going to go to bed or when typically people are going to wake up, so you don't have people constantly waking each other up in the middle of the night or things like that. The second stage in Tuckman is called storming. Tuckman says this is a time of building bridges and understanding. In reality, this is a very difficult stage to get through, and this is where you'll see most of your roommate conflicts. It's where the honeymoon ends. It's where students who have been being polite up until this point start getting real, and they start sharing the problems they have with each other and the things they don't like about each other. This is a normal stage. No two people absolutely love everything about each other, and if you're going to live together, especially if you've never had a roommate, you're going to have to get through some of those things that you dislike about each other. When students enter this stage, it's very important for you to help them be a positive force for roommate relationships. Think about the positive things and don't dwell on the negative. Think how those good things about their relationship can help them to form compromises and get over those tough spots. To be accepting and open-minded with each other. Yes, you may not agree that your roommate has tattoos, but maybe this is an opportunity for you to learn and broaden your horizons. That you have to be aware of other people's feelings. And lastly, you have to learn to listen, which is really key to every relationship. As has been mentioned, this is a very important part of the relationship. This is the part that makes or breaks the relationship. Everyone has to make it through this stage, and this is where you either fail or succeed as a roommate pair. The next stage is called norming, and this is where we motivate, collaborate, and create together. In this stage, all the compromising occurs. This is where you've made it past each other's imperfections and you start developing a coexistence within the room. To help people to and through this stage, you need to let them be themselves and encourage them to be themselves. Make them comfortable in voicing their opinions and encourage them to do the same for each other. Let them collaborate to solve problems rather than take opposing stances. And to think creatively to solve problems. Once a group or a pair has made it through the norming stage, they can make it to the performing stage. And this is where they get things done. In this case, with a roommate pair, it's literally just getting the job of living their lives done. It's the stage where a group works together as a team so they can accomplish their goals, academic goals, social goals, those sorts of things. You need to help students involve themselves and others in what they do and become a family in the room. Again, be that positive force and focus on the positive in the room. To be professional with the way that they treat each other, and to work together as a team. And most of all, they need to learn to have fun because college is supposed to be a fun experience. Sometimes roommate conflicts very much get in the way of this stage. Depending on the severity of a situation, some groups may not ever reach this stage. While that's rare, sometimes a difference is so significant that it can't be remedied to the point of performing. The last stage in Tuckman's model is adjourning. And this is where they say we prepare, think, and dedicate themselves to the group. This final step is typically about healthy disengagement of the community or saying goodbye, but from the point of view of roommate conflicts, what we're talking about is how do you adjourn from forming a relationship and move into that state of normalcy that we're always talking about. And that's about voicing your final thoughts and opinions and learning to live with each other. Putting that last nail in the bridges you've built so that you've got a strong roommate relationship. And giving suggestions for the future of how you will live together. And then making it clear that you as the RA are always available and the roommates make themselves available to each other as well. Most roommates are going to work their conflicts out on their own. Remember, they have been going through group development stages all their life with friends in elementary school, through high school, all of their lives. But some situations the pair will need your help, and that's where you're going to have to step in and conduct a roommate mediation. And of course, the tools you will use to conduct that roommate mediation is our good old community engagement model. Let's take a look at these familiar concepts with regards to roommate mediation this time. It starts with relationships. Of course, as we've mentioned before, building and maintaining a strong relationship is key to a lot of things, and it's no different with the case of roommate relationships. Making use of the roommate agreement to set standards early is very important. You've seen this roommate agreement form in your prerequisite reading, but letting them see this early in the year and revisiting this in the event of a roommate conflict is very important. The next big concept that we always talk about is that of normalcy. So what does normalcy look like with regards to roommate conflicts? Well, it's a state where roommates are completely satisfied with the living situation and everyone is happy. Now we know that that sort of living environment is impossible to maintain, so it requires constant attention. Most of the time, the students are going to do this on their own, but every once in a while it's going to boil out into the community and make itself visible, and that's where you're going to get involved. Finally, we want to address threats to normalcy, and that these can come from inside or outside of the roommate relationship. Sometimes a roommate is simply stressed out from school, and that puts them over the edge and starts a roommate conflict. Other times, there may be issues of respect or simply living choices that affect roommate relationships. We'll take a look at how all of these things play out when we continue the video in video 2.10, Roommate Conflicts Part 2.